right, all right. Been a little while, gents. That was a very hard fade on the music there. Actually, I hit the pause button.
More hard
Been a
stopping.
little while. Been a little while, gentlemen. So, we just to kind of let everybody know, we decided to kind of take a little hiatus during the holidays. People were traveling. Everyone, of course, had a lot going on. But we have regrouped and are back now to entertain America. Missing one of the four horsemen this evening, had an emergency come up last minute. So it'll just be the three of us tonight. But, man, we got a lot to be able to talk about. We're going to keep it short and sweet. Tonight's episode is going to be devoted to NFL Wildcard Weekend.
Let's go.
And it's going to be a good one. We got a lot of good games, man. A lot of interesting ones. So I'm going to kind of tee them up for you guys to talk about. We'll go in order, and we'll just discuss a little bit about, the game, whatever relevant stats we might have to talk about around that. And, and then pick some winners here for people. But before we do that, we also have to kind of make mention of the end of the regular season. So for a lot of football fans out there, they are done caring about what happens. their team's out of it. They got no concern with what happens from here. But we can't forget it was an exciting season. There were a lot of really interesting things that came up. And so I know we've got a couple things to talk about. Jeff, I'll throw it over to you to kind of maybe touch on a couple things. I know you had a few points you wanted to be able to make about that.
Sure. Yeah, I've got two honorable mentions here. So the first one is going to be the Detroit Lions.
Oof, yes.
Man, was I so wishing. I mean, God bless Seattle. We have a lot of Seahawks fans that follow us, so I'm happy for them. Very happy for the Seahawks fans. But
yeah.
Man, that Sunday night game, oh, how extra special would that have been? I mean, it was special enough that they knocked the Packers out. But, man, they started 1-6 and they finished 9-8. Like, that's amazing, really is. I mean, and we knew their offense was good. It was just the defense, man, giving up 33 points a game their first 7 games. After that, it was right around 20 points a game their last 10 games they had given up. Like, man, they just figured something out. Yeah. So they're going to be exciting next year. Now, we'll see. Last I heard, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, and Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, was going to be interviewing with the Colts. They had asked permission. Now, whether or not they're going to go, and do the interview, I guess we'll find out and see. But, man, if they can keep that core together, they should be exciting next year, I think.
Well, and also the thing that's interesting is how many times do you see a team that doesn't make the playoffs having both their offensive and defensive coordinators being highly sought after for interviews for head coaching opportunities when they have no head coaching experience. And it just goes to show people understand the trajectory that they're on. And look, to me, the biggest thing is the offensive coordinator for the Lions managed to get a career year out of Jared Goff at quarterback.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, man, you deserve everything that you could possibly have coming to you, because you guys know I'm not a Jared Goff fan by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's a bad guy, and I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think, for lack of a better term, he's a loser. And not a loser as a person, but I just feel like he's a guy that can amass statistics when the games don't count, and then he just kind of disappears or makes that crucial mistake, when the pressure's on. But, man, you can't deny what the guy did this year, and he put up an absolute heck of a season for the Lions.
Yeah, I saw a crazy stat. I think ESPN put it out there that Goff's last 5 games had, the best QB rating that was going, and he had, 15 touchdowns and 0 interceptions going in.
Wow.
How about that for somebody that's just decided to just turn the page and do something, unreal, especially when it mattered most coming towards the end of the season when they had a chance to make their run.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
He was an afterthought. I mean, with that whole trade, that trade, he was a throw-in. It was like, hey, yeah, we'll take Stafford and we'll give you these draft picks, but you got to take Jared Goff and his contract. He was a little afterthought. And I mean, statistically, you'd have to go back and obviously look game by game, break it down, but he was a top 6 quarterback this year. I mean, I don't know. There were 6 quarterbacks better. There was more quarterbacks better than him this year. I mean, he played minimally like a top 10 quarterback. So that bodes well if he can keep that up for the draft, for them just, they could throw another big body on that defensive line. Now they got the Rams pick, which is going to be very high. So, I mean, they can continue building that defense up. Maybe
and they have them dirt cheap. The salary cap situation for them is fantastic because when you look at just as a starting quarterback, forget about as a top 10 starting quarterback, just as a starting quarterback, his contract's dirt cheap. So, they have some time to be able to really get, some people around him and continue to build this thing out. I think they could be a deep sleeper team for next year. Nobody's going to want to play them.
Come playoff time, they were going to be a dangerous team, I think. It looks like probably they would have ended up playing the Niners, but I think that would have been a pretty darn good game. So good for them. So my other one is, you can see it hanging up here, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're my other honorable mention. Listen, I had my own rants about them. Still do. Still don't like the offensive coordinator. I will say, however, the second half of the season, he did get a little bit more, deeper into the playbook. Started 2-6. They finished 9-8. Freaking Flacco can't beat a guy named Skyler. Is that his name?
Skyler. Yeah, I believe it's Skyler.
Freaking Flacco, man. Come on, dude. They were 1-6 without TJ Watt this year. 8-2 with them. That's
amazing.
It boggles my mind how one guy can change that whole
disruptor.
Entire defense, but he does.
He's a disruptor, man.
That's what it is. So, Kenny Pickett, after week 12, according to Pro Football Focus, was the second highest rated quarterback, only to Josh Allen.
Hard to beat that. And that was within half a point, if I remember correctly. It was like 91.1 to 91.6. That's very, very, very close.
Whatever you think of Pro Football Focus, that's, it's still
my go-to. That's my go-to.
But to still have, for them to rank him second only to Josh Allen is pretty amazing. And I think that Pickett Pickens combination, boy, George Pickens is a different man. He is a beast. So we'll see. I saw, I don't know if y'all saw, but Ben had one on his podcast, Ben Roethlisberger, and was like, kind of cautioning him not getting too big or, too big for his, his britches, I guess we'll say. But he doesn't know him, but, just attitude wise and everything, he just wants to make sure. And he knows just from Antonio.
Stay humble, young man. Stay humble.
Yeah, that's it. Just, he's a beast. But those are two teams I'm actually really looking forward to. And we'll see what the offseason brings. Every team's going to strive to get better. But those are my honorable mentions. I don't know if anyone else has any other ones, but those were my two anyway. So
nice. Excellent. F.A., what do you got?
No, I those would be the two teams that I would pick as well, especially Detroit. I just thought that everything where they've come from to where they're getting to, their head coach, things are coming together for them. And if it's true, all their coordinators are being looked at other places, that's a shame because it's not easy just to plug and play like people think it is. But in the NFL, man, you got to have the right people in place to do what it is that they're doing. And they were building something great. So kudos to those gentlemen. If they get offered jobs, I'm sure they'll take it. But if they, like you said, if they can keep that together, man, I think Detroit would be a fun team to watch for a few years to be, for the future, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Agreed. And, we're going to talk about this here in just a couple of minutes as we start to get into the games. But, I think a very, very interesting storyline. It's going to be an interesting storyline in the playoffs. It's going to be an interesting storyline in the offseason. It's going to be an interesting storyline in training camp next year. Is going to be, what do the Miami Dolphins do at the quarterback position? You can't overlook the fact it's not Tua's fault, but how many concussions can a guy have before your career is done? There's only so many times it can happen. And so it's going to get interesting.
And I don't even know if it's
Are we talking playoff talk now, or
no?
Are we
Because
going to go there?
We're not. Yeah, we'll throw to that game in order. So
okay, all right, just making sure.
But that's going to be an interesting off-season topic.
It is.
I think when we're looking at things, that's going to be a big one. So
yeah, I just don't even know if it's so much concussions. It's just the type of concussions he has. Like they just seem different, man. Because Kenny Pickett has had 2 concussions, which is something you gotta worry about. He the one was he called it out himself, like, hey man, I don't feel right. They pulled him out. He ended up playing, but then the next one he actually missed the game. So that's 2. But man, the ones Tua had just so we'll see.
Yeah, something's wrong there.
Yeah.
But all right, so now that we've touched on that depressing topic, let's jump in and start to talk about the wild card weekend in the NFL. And first game this Saturday, 4:30 p.m., Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. I can tell you, you get the horn show here. We have, I can easily say, and I would have never, ever thought this. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to start this off by saying this. I would have never dreamed that this would be the case. By far, our most vocal fans, our most vocal demographic of people is Seattle Seahawks fans. It is amazing to me. If we mention the Seahawks, we got tons of comments and people. The Seahawks, I don't know if there's a East Coast bias that goes on that somehow they get overlooked. People don't care about them, but Seahawks fans, it's like yelling out like Justice League assemble. If anyone talks about the Seahawks, the fans hear it and they just come, they congregate to that content. And look, that all having been said, I think you're going to lose this weekend. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off the Cinderella story against the Niners. I want them to for what it's worth. But I just think, look, we could have talked about this already. The Brock Purdy situation, pretty good. Yeah, you can't, there's nothing that you can say about what this guy has put up. And so if there was going to be anyone that has a crazier out of the blue story than Geno Smith, it could maybe be Brock Purdy. So this is an interesting game, and I will not rule out the Seahawks in this game. Let me tell you, while I think if I were a betting man, and I will not be betting on this game, but if I were, I would probably put my money on the Niners. But I might hedge that bet with a couple bucks on the Seahawks as well, because I absolutely think that they could pull it off.
Yeah. I think you hit it. Geno Smith set the Seahawks single season passing record this year.
Think about that.
That is unbelievable.
Think about that.
I love it. He actually finished 8th in passing and 4th in touchdowns. That dude had 30 touchdowns this year.
Wow.
I mean, that might be his career. Like, he may have not have had 30 touchdowns in all of his career.
I can't imagine he has. Yeah.
He just played lights out. I mean, towards the end of the season, injuries, I think, started catching up with him a little bit. But if they're healthy, and I'd have to look and see who's out. But I mean, if you can establish the run game, then they can't go tit for tat. Obviously, I mean, the Niners can score pretty quickly. They can ball control. They feel like a complete team, which is crazy because they have a Mr. Irrelevant starting at quarterback who legit looks like and. You can just sometimes tell, like with quarterbacks, I don't know, like when I seen Blaine Gabbert play football, I was like he doesn't
this looks
have
like his
it,
first
right?
time. This is new to
Like
him.
he doesn't have it. Brock Purdy gets up there and all he's doing is throwing 2 touchdowns a game, controlling the ball. I mean, not turning it over. It could catch up with him come playoff time. So he is the X factor really in this. I mean, I think the defense is stout, run game is great. It's just whether or not Purdy can play up to that same level he has been. Is the nerves going to get to him? Which you wouldn't blame him if he did. Like, he had no business playing this year. I mean, he had no business making the team really as the last pick in the draft. But man, he looks like it. And boy, oh boy, what if they found their quarterback of the future. I mean, unbelievable.
I mean, going in, let's remember, Garoppolo wasn't the Niners' choice, right? They wanted to do everything and anything to get rid of that guy. Gets hurt. Purdy comes in, does his thing. Now, the thing about Purdy that helps him out, it's always nice when you have CMC to hand the ball off to, or dump, or let fly and just run out there. Kittle, your tight end, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, Deebo Samuel, like when you have those types of weapons, all you need to do is be sure to get the ball in those guys' hands and let them do the work, and your defense is stout. Not one moment do you doubt, the Niners defense. So once you have that rolling, and all you have to do is just be able to hand the ball off to CMC or find one of those wide receivers out there that can come back in the backfield as well and do their thing. I mean, the game tends to get a little easier for you when you are a rookie and you have that type of weapons, and your defense is pretty damn good and can hold it down for you. If you only do throw for 2 touchdowns, let the rest, happen on its own.
That's it. Yeah. And Brandon Ayuk, good on him, man. Boy, he stepped up this year after Deebo went down.
Yep.
He was all over the place. He really, really stepped up, and then getting Deebo back just before the playoffs start to get him back in game shape. Ooh. So the line, now this was as of yesterday, I didn't check it today, but the line was 9.5 for the Niners.
It is still that.
Still 9.5?
Yeah, still 9.5, yep.
It's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. You going to take the points, or would you take Seahawks?
Whew. Now here's the thing, right? I'm looking at what Seattle brings to the table, right? Obviously, we were just talking. Geno Smith comes out of nowhere. I have a dislike and distaste for Geno Smith just because of where he went to college. He was a Florida State grad, so screw him. Go Canes. The thing is that the gentleman was up there throwing for over 4,200 yards, right? So he did his game, over 30 touchdowns. He has a running back that ran for 1,000 yards. He has a receiver that caught for over 1,000 yards and 90 catches. So he has the weapons around him to do the same thing. It's just, are they going to be able to go to Levi Stadium and handle the Niners and that crowd and do what it is that they've been doing all year? I don't know. Yeah, I would say I'd take the points on that one.
So we have you take the points, but if we're picking a winner, who are we picking for the winner?
Golly, man.
Niners.
I'd say Niners. Like, just based on the way they've played. Yeah. But are you going to be shocked if Brock Purdy folds under pressure?
No. How could you be?
No.
Right.
No one could blame him.
So if they can somehow get pressure on this kid, there's an easy chance the Seahawks could win. Now, with that said, I'm going to take the Niners.
Yep.
Just based on Purdy's played enough games. What has he played? 6 games this year? I think it was 5 or 6 games he's played. So he's got plenty of experience, going into the playoffs. So it's not like he's played one game and like, hey, you're in a playoff game now. But, man, playoff atmosphere is so much different, man. Playoff football is so different. So I'll take the Niners.
Niners it is. So if that's the case, we consult with the Oracle. We consult with the Oracle behind me, and the Oracle also says Niners.
Niners. Okay.
Niners with the win.
Niners all the way.
Niners are going to pull off the win. That's the prediction here. And again, hate to disappoint our Seahawks fans. They will let us know if we're wrong. They will let us know not only if we're wrong.
But listen, it's not a bad wrong. Like, we're rooting for them. Like, I would be upset. Like, let's go. Let's go, Seahawks,
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the pick on that one. So that is the Saturday 4:30 game. Now we're going to move to Saturday night, 8:15. Who's playing? San Diego Chargers. I guess it's the LA Chargers now. I always forget the Chargers. We'll call them the Chargers. And the London, by way of Jacksonville, Jaguars. Chargers, Jags, Saturday Night Football. What do we got?
Jeff, what do we have?
Oh my gosh.
This is not an easy game to call, man. Now, this one hits home, has some personal relevance for you, Jeff. For anyone who doesn't know this background, I would just briefly fill in. So, and you can find this. It's out here. It's on our YouTube channel. It's on our TikTok. So, I don't know, midway through the season, something like that. Jeff, you were doing your personal evaluation of Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and you had some strong words at that time for Mr. Lawrence. And it was essentially you feel like he's a bust. You feel like he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He has not impressed you
At all.
You don't think he's the right guy long term. He's overrated. You think he was essentially a wasted draft pick. At the time,
Might be a little harsh. But
we'll pull the transcripts on it. But
we don't need to do all that. But
we don't mean to put words in your mouth, Jeff. But,
but it's definitely in the spirit of what was said. And so, since that exact time that you said that, Trevor Lawrence went on to just completely burn the world down and play phenomenal quarterback for the Jaguars. And I mean, almost single-handedly willed them to get into the playoffs. So, look, you have a lot of influence on Trevor Lawrence. We know
apparently.
that. Yeah, you're a very influential guy with Trevor Lawrence. So your opinion on this particular game certainly means more than mine or Hefe's, because you can actually influence this game.
Sure.
So in this game, Jags, Chargers, how are you feeling? Justin Herbert versus your boy Trevor Lawrence.
Sure. Now let's just be honest here. Lawrence finished 9th in yards this year and 8th in touchdowns. Geno Smith actually outplayed him this year. So I don't know. Geno Smith was a second, third round pick, probably, maybe even a little later. And Trevor Lawrence was 1 of 1, right? So let's hold off. Like he let's be honest. He got outplayed by the Tennessee Titans quarterback who had played there for 13 days. He had been there, and he got outplayed that last game. He did not look good that last game. It's just the fact that the Titans really, they're down to their third string quarterback at that point. Yeah. A guy hadn't even been in the building 13 days ago. So,
all fair statements.
Right.
Not definitively relevant to what we're asking as far as who's going to win.
It's not. But let's be honest. Like, if Tannehill's playing that game, do you not think that the Titans win that game? If a healthy Ryan Tannehill, do you think they win that game?
It's a good question.
He's not.
He gives them a better chance. Yes, Jeff. To put it, yes, he gives them a better chance.
All right. So the last I checked on this line, the Chargers were -1. Now they're on the road because it's 2 now.
Yep, it went up to
-2. Wow. Okay. So we can see where the money's starting to lean towards.
The lines are moving.
I see, this is tough thing too, man, because I feel like the Chargers every year underperform. Like they've underperformed now.
Yep.
For how long is Philip Rivers? Philip Rivers hired last year. They literally underperformed every single year for the last 15, 16, 17 years, right? They just have.
Yes.
So am I going to be surprised if the Jags at home, because that crowd is going to be on fire? Like, I've been to that stadium as an opposing fan. When that team is good, those fans are wild. Like, I thought I was going to get into a few fights at that, at a game. So they are that wild, that passionate. So it's going to be a tough sled. But the Chargers are getting healthy at the right time. They're finally getting their guys back. Golly, you got to think that the Chargers have the better team. They should easily win this game. But the fact that it's only -1, -2, and I get, Yeah, every time I think like a home team getting, not getting points, it's almost like 3. The home team kind of automatically gets 3 points. So when they're -1 or -2, that's a 4 or 5 point spread. I don't see why the Chargers can't win this game by a touchdown at least, but I don't know. I guess this is, wild card weekend is wild. So I'm going to go Chargers, but again, I've got 2 teams that to me always underperform. So it's not going to surprise me if one team beats the other. So,
agreed.
So here's what I'll say on the Chargers. It's crazy to think that their head coach is on the hot seat and they made the playoffs. Now,
just wait till we start talking about the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, exactly. Now, a lot of things are have to do with that. What the fact of the matter is that he made poor choices. He let people play in the game that they just played this past weekend a little bit too long. Mike Williams ended up getting nicked up.
Yep.
That's a huge part of their offense.
That's big.
And then Bosa. Are you kidding me? Bosa ended up getting hurt in this game that they just played, and obviously with the playoffs were on the line. I get it. They get in. They're about to play Jacksonville. I think that's the only thing that's the difference is who's healthier. I think Jacksonville is a lot more healthier than the Chargers are, and I think because of that, I think Jacksonville has a chance in this game.
Ooh, I like
Wow.
it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
I am going San Diego Chargers.
Hey.
This is a tough call for me.
They're not in San Diego, but we'll just call them the Chargers.
Oh, yes. They're going to win this game by so much they can go back to San Diego if they want to.
They can finally afford to be back in San Diego.
Let me welcome back. Look, this is a tough call. Honestly, I am not. I don't bet on the Chargers. I don't trust the Chargers.
You cannot chart. You can't trust them.
I have no confidence in their ability to win this game. But I do think that. I mean, look, I could talk myself out of this and easily go to the Jags. I mean, it's a coin flip situation for me, right? Here's the thing where I struggle. Justin Herbert, in my mind, clearly the better quarterback.
No question.
But Doug Peterson, clearly the better coach. And he has a lot of experience in these situations where you could say, look, the Jags don't have experience winning, but Doug Peterson does, and he knows how to prepare a team. We just don't know that, the Chargers coach is going to be able to prepare them. Brandon Staley is going to be able to prepare them in the same way that Doug Peterson will. The pressure is far more on the Chargers. There's 100%. Way more pressure on the Chargers than the Jags to win this game. So I'm going to go Chargers, but only due to the fact that they have a greater amount of talent on their team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But again, if you value coaching, then it's Jacksonville. I'm 51% Chargers for this game.
I'm not going to be surprised either way. I'm not going to be surprised either way. Now I'll be surprised if it's a blowout either way.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a close game throughout, but I'm just not going to be surprised. I'm really not. No. It really is a coin flip at this point.
Yeah. I completely agree. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to be interesting to watch in terms of as a good game or a particularly interesting game that anyone will care about, but it's going to be the end result will be interesting to see at the very least.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Moving on. Sunday, January 15th. Sunday. 1 p.m. Who plays? Jacksonville. Whoops. I looked at the wrong thing on there.
Go more south. Go a little more south.
Go a little more south, yeah.
Who plays this time? Buffalo Bills. Miami Dolphins. Sunday, 1 p.m. Dolphins, Bills. I mean, doesn't seem like it should be a hard game to call, but what do you guys think on this one?
Here's what I'll say. I'm not going to take much time. I'm down in South Florida. You guys know that. But I saw on the ticker just one thing that just put everything in perspective. We all know Tua's not playing, right? they don't even know if Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to play.
Yeah, he's injured too.
So he's injured too. I saw the line that the FPI put out there that the Buffalo Bills have a 96.8% chance of winning this game.
So
that's all I need to know.
That probably means the Dolphins are going to win. That's usually what
let's just get the opposite. Go the other way.
That's exactly it.
96% of people are never right about anything ever. So if it's usually a good bet to go the other way, but this one may be just not that situation. It's very difficult to imagine the Dolphins being able to pull off this win.
I feel like this will be the game that fans will hope that they cut to the movie Heidi. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a blowout, right? I mean, this is.
If not, I mean, what does that say for the Bills if they don't? I mean, the game. This is probably going up, and I think I read this actually did go up. So when I looked yesterday, it was minus 10.5 for the Bills. I think did that go up to 12.5?
It's at 13 right now.
My goodness!
God,
that's more than 2 touchdowns.
Wow!
That's more than 2 touchdowns. No extra points, obviously.
When it was at 10.5, I think that's when there was still like, could Tua play? Man, it's such a shame. It's such a shame that Tua is not playing in this game. I mean, the way he handles that offense, just with the RPO with him, is just. I mean, they beat the Bills. I mean,
it's happened.
This is week 3 they beat the Bills. I mean, what a difference, several weeks make. It's just, gosh, that's such a shame. I mean, I think the Dolphins are going to go out there. I mean, Dolphins got a good defense. I mean, so you force them into some turnovers. I don't see, all right, let's find a way that the Dolphins can win this game. Is there any way they can pull this out? Like, any way at all? Like, they cause 4 turnovers.
I think it would take injury. It would take injury, a significant injury, or it would literally take 4 or 5 turnovers, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even that, is that enough? I mean, can Skylar, Thompson?
Skylar Thompson, yep.
Yeah, could. Can
he even push the ball to Tyreek in a way that is going to be explosive enough to offset what the Bills can do? It's going to be challenging.
They're really going to have to dip into the bag, I think, of tricks at that point. You've got to find a way to get Tyreek open. You've just, Waddle, you just got to find a way to get those guys the ball and let them try and perform and let them try and score. So I don't know, a lot of slants. Gosh, man, this game could get ugly. So I think you take the Bills with the points at this point. I don't. If they don't win by double digits, we might have to start questioning that team.
Yeah, well, that's a good point too. Like, what's going on if they didn't win big in this game?
So, I mean, as far as what the Dolphins could do to win this game, they still have Waddle. They still have Hill. Mostert, he can play, right? He can have that game that goes crazy. So what I would say is I would look at what San Francisco's doing with Purdy. Now, granted, Purdy's played a lot more than Thompson has to this point. But if Mike McDaniels, right, if he's that guru that they were looking for as a head coach that they brought in to do what it is that he can do, he would definitely have to come up with something very creative offensively in order to give the Dolphins any chance. And obviously nobody's believing in him, but that's what it's going to take. It's going to have to take his imagination to be creative offensively to give the Dolphins any chance in this game.
I mean, I completely agree, although they scored 9 points.
Yeah.
Against the Jets to even get into this spot, right? So, I mean, it's hard to make that kind of magic. So, but look, you're right.
The other thing I'll say, though, and again, we talked about what the road would be for this, and this will be kind of maybe the last point before we move on. The Oracle's already said who's winning this one. It's clearly the Buffalo Bills. But, man, this is also the perfect trap game. I mean, this is that perfect scenario where you're the Bills. You would easily and justifiably so overlook the Dolphins in this game. Without Tua, maybe even without Teddy Bridgewater, you're just looking at like, we're just going to roll right into this. This is a nothing game for us. And look, a couple breaks, early in the game and some momentum swing, and all of a sudden things could get interesting. I don't think they will, but they could. So, so something to keep an eye on for sure. No clue what's gonna happen there, but it'll be a good one. So then we move on. Sunday afternoon, 4:30 p.m.
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
San Diego Chargers.
New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings. What are we thinking here, gents? Giants, Vikes. Look, let's face it. A little bit of the shine came off of the Giants in the latter half of the season, right?
For sure.
The expectations started to swing the other way very quickly because they had early season success under new coach Brian Daboll. Daniel Jones started looking like a competent NFL quarterback. Saquon Barkley playing healthy. They started making plays. Some good things happened. And then people, I think, maybe went too far on the bandwagon on what the Giants were going to be able to accomplish. They kind of limp into the playoffs here. And now they have to play the Minnesota Vikings, who are notoriously inconsistent. There's no getting around that. But, man, they're a talented group. They got the skill set on offense and defense. Needless to say, Justin Jefferson leads the NFL in receiving yards this year, and that's after having done basically nothing in the last game there of the season. Last game or second to last. Very second quiet. Last. So, yeah. So, again, very, very, interesting game between these two teams that I'll be curious who lives up to expectations as these playoffs roll on. But what do you guys think? Who you got?
So I had the line at -3 on the Vikes. Is that what you still have, FA? -3. It's in Minnesota, so, I mean, I would give the Vikings the edge. But, I mean, we know Kirk Cousins doesn't play up on big games. Like, we just know that he does not. He's not a big game player. So, Daniel Jones, as long as he takes care of the ball, and you get it to your playmakers, Saquon, if Saquon can carry the ball 25 times, the Giants have a great chance of winning this game. I don't trust Kirk Cousins in a big game situation. I'm sorry, I don't. So I'm going to take the Giants, but because I just don't trust Kirk. I love Kirk.
So you are saying then that you trust Daniel Jones?
Well, it's not even trusting him because they're not going to ask him to throw the ball but 20, 25 times. Right. Or Kirk's going to throw the ball 35, 40, 45 times. I mean, now I trust Justin Jefferson over all of them. I mean,
no getting around that.
Just different. But I think I'm going to take the Vikings, or I'm going to take the Giants in this situation.
Ooh, all right. Pick for the Giants. Interesting. Hefe, what say you? Vikings, Giants.
I like where your head's at, Jeff. I like the fact that you're going with the Giants. But see, I think that you need to rely on Barkley more than Daniel Jones. So I would put his carries at 30 to 35. He's healed up. He had a great year. He had over 1,300 yards rushing. Put it on him. Put it on him. And
he's up for a contract too. So,
Make it worth his while. Just give him the ball. Daniel Jones, you throw when you have to or when the situation needs it. And then ride him as far as you can to get you past, man, I think I'm leaning Giants as well because I think they can definitely run the ball more than Jeff, you had him at 25. I think he needs at least 35 carries and just let them pound it. An ugly, slow game. Keep the ball out of Cousins' hands. And you're going to do something that, they're not going to see because they like playing catch up. They've been down so many games and been able to come back. But you slow it down. You run the ball. You don't give them the opportunity to come back. You don't give Jefferson the chance to catch a 15-yard pass to take it, the 80 yards to the house. Just eliminate that. And I think the Giants have a chance. I'm going with the Giants.
Wow. I love it. The correct answer here is the Minnesota Vikings. It's not even going to be that close. It's Minnesota all the way. But I think you guys made great points for a hypothetical situation. The reality is the talent is lopsided in this game.
No question.
This is Minnesota. And look, 100% Minnesota has been underperforming and underwhelming at key times this season. But as you mentioned, Jeff, they have come back to win games.
Yep.
That tells me that they've played a lot of games in pressure situations, even though it is self-created pressure.
You like
by
that?
Falling behind. I like the fact that they haven't folded in those games. I don't like it as much as Kirk likes it.
You like that?
But like they have found ways to win tight games coming from behind. Those pressure situations, that's going to be what they're going to face the entire time they're in the playoffs.
Sure.
I think you're right. However, big game situations, they're non-existent. I mean, look at that Cowboys game. That was probably their biggest game, and that thing was not even close from the first snap of the game. That was not close. So I get you. Yeah, talent-wise. I mean, that defensive line for the Giants is pretty stout. So, we'll see how the offensive line for the Vikings hold up. But you get pressure on Cousins. I just don't trust him. I think his career has shown that. I mean, prime time Kirk is non-existent.
It's not good.
I mean, it's not good. So, yeah, that's why I say Giants, just because I think they can play a different brand of football that would control. I think Jeff's right. I think you got to control the clock. Like, you can't let, you can't get in a situation where it's a back and forth with them. I mean, but
I agree.
That's going to be
similar. I'd go with a similar game plan if I'm the Vikings, though. I'm doing a healthy dose of Dalvin Cook. So,
100%.
I'm really.
I agree with you 100%. That's what they should do, but they don't ever do that.
You're right.
No.
And that's the problem with them. Yes, let Dalvin Cook, let him cook.
Let him cook.
You know what I mean? But they don't do that. And I mean, I get it, because what are you going to upset Jefferson by not throwing on the ball?
Right.
Thielen, his feelings are going to get hurt. He wants the ball too. Man.
Tough. Yeah, and then
tough.
What do they got?
Hawkinson,
now?
right? They got Hawkinson.
TJ.
That's right.
TJ Hawkinson.
You feed that guy.
So it's hard to not throw the ball. But, I mean, when you're throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game, I mean, there's going to be opportunity there for the Giants to create turnovers, because they are going to throw the ball 35, 40 times. So there's going to be opportunities there for the Giants. Get a little pressure, make Kirk throw a bad pass, make them throw it early, get a couple picks, on the plus side of the field, and that's your recipe. So, all right, we'll see.
It's there. So we got Oracle says Vikings.
Well, if the Oracle
says
it, it's hard for me to argue.
Both of you say Giants. This is going to be an interesting one. We'll move on from that. By the way, letting everyone who's watching us live on YouTube, you're watching You Get the Horn Show, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, check us out, man. Lots of fun stuff going on. Rolling into the next game, a game near and dear to my heart. Sunday Night Football, 8:15. Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. For the third time this season, these two teams will play, and back-to-back weeks.
2 weeks in a row.
This one is going to be, as John Madden would call it, this is a slobber knocker. This is going to be, there were hard feelings going into last week's game. These two teams
100%.
don't like each other, and they're not going to like each other more after this game. This is going to be I'm going to tell you right now who's going to win. So I'm not worried about that. It's the Baltimore Ravens who are going to win this game. I'm going to make it really clear cut for you.
Homer pick.
Here's the thing. It's easy to think that, and I totally understand it. But the reality is, first of all, the Bengals had every reason to win last week, and they did win last week. But that was an extremely close game against a Ravens team who was playing their third-string undrafted quarterback, who sat J.K. Dobbins and Mark Andrews. I mean, most of their important players didn't play, and this game was close until about halfway through the fourth quarter.
I mean, they won by 11. That's not close, but all right, carry on.
But it was a close game until the Bengals pulled away at the end. And the reality is it should have never even been close. It should have never been a close game. And the Bengals were playing all of their starters the entire time. So sure. I think there's going to be a little bit of revenge on the mind of the Ravens. Now, needless to say, the Lamar Jackson situation hangs over this game like a large purple cloud.
Kind of important.
It's vital. And I'll tell you now, I do not believe he will play in this game.
Is that breaking news?
Listen, I'm not telling you this. I have not heard this from anyone with the team. So I'm not breaking this as news. As you guys know, we've done it many times on this show. We'll tell people that listen. We know people with some of these teams. We do get information sometimes. You wouldn't think so. Our show is very small, but we actually do know some pretty good information. And I'm not officially saying this, but I do not believe that Lamar will play in this game.
I mean, it's Wednesday. He hasn't practiced. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't played by Wednesday,
it's going to be tough.
Better chance than not. I mean, he knows the offense, so it's not like he needs a ton of time, but my goodness, right. The last play, he's been out for 4 weeks?
5 weeks. I think five.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky. I mean, and look, the Bengals are a good team, obviously. That goes without saying. This is going to be a tough one. Without Lamar, I think, they're definitely playing with one hand behind their back. It would have to be an absolute ball control game and a dominant defensive performance. Defense played well last week, very well last week against the Bengals. Ravens just signed Roquan Smith, linebacker Roquan Smith, to a blockbuster deal. That was actually a story that we broke on this show way before it ever happened. The initial signing of Roquan, the trade. So that is, I just think there are some pieces there that can break the Ravens' way. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a heroic defensive performance and a really strong running day. J.K. Dobbins is healthy, or as healthy as he's going to be right now. He was able to rest last week. I think he's going to come in fresh. The only, for me, real question mark in this game is going to be Gus Edwards. Had a little bit of a head injury last week, a little bit dinged up. Providing that he's able to play and they're able to establish that 1-2 punch of those two guys, and you can just steadily run the ball, I think that's their best chance of winning. But that's me. I'll let you guys take it away and tell me why you think that's wrong.
Hefe, go ahead. I just can't.
Listen, I almost feel like you talked yourself out of them winning. You almost kept on going, and then you started talking about miracles and things that had to happen, and I'm like, is he talking himself out of it,
or is he still not playing?
Is he still, all right, okay.
If Lamar was playing, it's a guarantee. It's a lock.
Yeah, it's a different game.
Okay, all right,
it's a lock.
Right,
it's not a lock without Lamar.
So here's what I would say. Yes, if Lamar was playing, I think the game would be a lot closer. I do feel offensively that the Cincinnati just has more talent right now. And so for my money, if I were going to be gambling and putting money on it, I would definitely be on the Bengals just because they are in a better spot, I think, health-wise, especially at the quarterback position. And we all know how crucial that is. And I just think that the Bengals want to prove that they still got it, and they're going to come out firing. And yeah, your defense is playing well, but how do you stop Chase? I mean, has it happened? Absolutely, but I mean, you got to stop them all. And I just think, offensively speaking, I think the Bengals got it, man. Sorry,
well, hey.
I'm going Cincinnati.
Okay, that's hurtful, and it will drive a wedge in our relationship, but it's okay.
Also,
I understand.
But let me also touch on the fact, though, you did talk about Lamar Jackson, and if they do lose, and I know we probably could save this for another segment or another time.
Yeah.
Has he played his last game as a Raven? Has he laced it up the last time? Now, we all know that they're probably going to franchise tag him. He doesn't have to necessarily sign that. He sits out a year. and he ends up, they end up figuring out what the hell to do with the guy. However, I wouldn't want to see him leave because I feel like they built that offense around him. Well, first of all, he is the offense,
100%.
but then they did everything they could to get something around him. I'm just super curious of what the future holds for the young man. Obviously, he's from South Florida. Tad, you mentioned it in our group text and stuff like that Miami could be a landing spot. And we were talking earlier about Tua, his concussions.
Yeah.
Dang, man. That would be something wild if it were to happen. But if he ended up down in Miami, I'm not trying to take him away from you guys.
No.
But the situation doesn't look good, especially because he isn't playing. If he is better and he's still choosing not to play,
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think we could probably.
Supposedly he's not healthy. Supposedly it really truly
I hope that's
is
the case. I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
And
now don't get me wrong.
So
There is that little bit of, hey, maybe I could push it, but
For what?
Should I? Yeah. Does that make sense? Right. I've said all along, and I've been very transparent about this, that if the Ravens let Lamar go, they need to get 3 number ones, 3 first round picks. If that's what it would take for me to feel comfortable letting him go. In my mind, I think there are two solid destinations for him. One is Miami. The difference is I don't know about draft capital. Once they swung the deal for Bradley Chubb, Miami doesn't have any upcoming draft capital that would allow them to really be able to make that happen. Right. That part gets challenging. I think the other one you got to look at is the Raiders. I know a lot of people are saying the Atlanta Falcons. I just don't see it. You just drafted Desmond Ridder. You're putting a team together. I don't think they need to make that swing right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's going to be better than what they have. But I really feel like Raiders, Dolphins are the 2 most likely landing spots in the event that he is not able to work things out with.
I would throw the Jets in there too.
I've thought about the Jets very, very heavily. Again, I'm for them. It's the same thing. I truly haven't done a deep dive on their draft capital to figure out if it makes sense. Lord knows they will spend first round picks on quarterbacks. There's no issues there.
Sure.
But that's So anyway, that's where I'm. That's where I'm thinking of the Lamar thing. We will probably. I know T-Rock and I are going to be doing a Lamar episode here very soon, maybe even this week, just talking about the contract situation, what's going on there, and what we see happening, playing out moving forward. Again, full transparency to the folks listening. T-Rock and I, both Ravens fans, went to the Super Bowl. We're pretty well plugged in on that. So we'll get a deeper dive in on some of that stuff upcoming. But Jeff, to wrap this up, you are going what? Definitely Ravens and second mortgage bet on this one.
Yep. I already got the HELOC ready. So
good.
6.5 is the spread. It's Bengals at home. To me, that's too low. I mean, are we even sure? Is Tyler Huntley even able to play?
It's still up in the air.
So, I mean, you're going with what, Anthony Edwards? Is that string? What is his name?
Anthony Brown.
I don't even know at this point.
Anthony
is he
Edwards
a third or
from
second?
From
ER. I was going to say.
Anthony Brown, is he the third or the second? I don't even know.
Well, I don't think anyone knows.
All right.
It hasn't ever been relevant. He's the third. He's the number 3 quarterback for the team.
Number 3 quarterback. We'll call him Anthony Brown the third then. No, 6.5 is too low. I don't know. I don't know how the Ravens pull this one out, except for it's a divisional game and they're always close. Last week, 27-16. Wasn't that close. I get, up until the fourth quarter. But, I mean, that's what good teams do. They pull away in the fourth quarter. So I don't know how you stop Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon.
T. Higgins,
T. Higgins. Samaje Perine. I mean, all of a sudden became a stud backup. And then Joe Burrow. We're not even talking about Joe Burrow. I mean, I don't see how the Ravens pull this one out. Sorry.
Okay. Well, your words are hurtful. Now we move into for whatever reason, they opted to play a Monday Night Football game.
Not making any sense.
And that game is between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guys, I don't know why they're doing a Monday night game. I'll be the first to tell you. It makes no sense to me. I don't think it's easier for people to be able to watch it. I agree with you 100%. Sure, it's strictly a ratings thing. It's strictly a money thing. It's not easier to watch. It's much easier to be able to watch an afternoon or evening game on the weekend. But regardless, that is what it is. It's a conversation for another day. But regardless, that's where we stand. So we're playing a Monday night game, and we are playing between the Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Monday night, 8:15 Eastern. What say you?
The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites. They're 8-9. Tom Brady's first losing season. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And yet somehow I'm not going to be surprised if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pull this game out. I'm just not. They're already talking about Mike McCarthy. If Mike McCarthy loses this game, he's coaching, at this point he's coaching for his job. They finished 12-5, and he's now all of a sudden coaching for his job. And I feel like it's just because for some reason they felt it necessary to play last week versus the Commanders, all their starters. It just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, and I guess, some other teams did that too. It just doesn't make – I don't know what the upside to that is. No. I just don't. I mean, you get him – maybe if you just tear him up, that's great. Camaraderie, great, rah-rah, let's go. We've got this. We're rolling. But the downside is you get blown out or – you get injured. I just didn't see the chance. Like if you could move up in, the seating, fine, but they couldn't. They couldn't go anywhere besides where they were. Right. I just don't understand why they put their guys into play. It just didn't make any sense. And now they got embarrassed.
Yeah, I wasn't watching this game, and I looked it up because I see, man, Washington's blowing them out. I'm thinking, man, I wonder who Dallas even played of their starters. And I look it up and I realize Dak threw the ball like 35, 40 times, like everybody was playing. And I'm going, wait a minute, they're playing their starters? When I saw the score, I just assumed that Washington was playing their starters. They're auditioning people and trying to figure out who to keep. And then, Dallas is playing second and third stringers, but that's not the case. So now you stumbled into the playoffs, losing against your biggest rival and division rival. You stumble into the playoffs, and now who do you meet right after that? Freaking Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, again, you shouldn't think they're good or anything like that, but I wouldn't want to see them in round one of the playoffs.
No. And why are they so bad? I don't understand why the Bucs are so bad. I don't understand it.
I personally, I think their offensive line got a little bit beat up. And so that to me kind of lended to why they are the way they played the whole season. They still haven't been able to establish a run game, right? That was the one thing that when they made their run for the Super Bowl, they were able to establish a run game behind Tom Brady's little dink and dunks that he does all the time, and then over the top to Mike Evans, for what he did. And is Godwin is he healthy or what's his deal?
Yeah, I think I didn't see anyone that was out that I was aware of. I could be wrong, but when I was looking at who's in, who's out, I didn't look like anyone was. But
so only because we've seen it so many freaking times. I think it's probably Tom Brady's 50th year in the league. So to count against him, right? You hate saying it, but how do you go against Tom Brady in the playoffs? We all want him to lose. We all want him not to be successful. But at the same time, do we want the Cowboys to do well?
No,
listen.
No, we don't.
25, 30 years ago, I used to be a Cowboys fan. When they went and picked up Jimmy Johnson for my Hurricanes, he went there. He brought in a few Hurricanes to play for them, stuff like that. I enjoyed the hell out of watching the Cowboys. And obviously, they went on a great run. It was during that time, America's team got established there. The problem is the thing that happened with the Dallas Cowboys is Jerry Jones. And he can't help but get in his own freaking way with that team. So because of him alone and the fact that he dismantled what he did with Jimmy Johnson, getting rid of him, stuff like that, you get what you get. And now he's just reaping what he's sowing. Like, yeah, I don't want Tom Brady to win this game, but I certainly don't care about the Cowboys winning the game.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Very well said. People love it.
Yeah.
People are freaking out over this, and the people hate the Dallas Cowboys. And if there's anything, okay, man, the crowd just can't get enough of this. Let me mute the crowd there, man. People get excited when it comes to seeing the Cowboys lose or Tom Brady lose, for the record. And so this game is going to have something for everyone. If you want to see Brady lose, if you love to watch the Cowboys lose, watch this game, because one of those things is going to happen, we assume, right? So this is the game for people that are just miserable, because I feel like most Brady fans are just not great people and they're pretty miserable. And then Cowboys fans, similar. So this is an ideal game for bad people. And it's not a game that I care to watch, but I will say this: if I'm picking in this game, again, if I'm picking off of talent, Dallas should win this game. But the Oracle says,
there it is.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the game.
Wow.
I did not know that was going to happen. That's even a shock to me when I see the Oracle say that. But I just feel like, look, Dallas they're losers, and they find ways to lose. And look, I hate Tom Brady, but the guy's a winner and he finds ways to win. And those, in that situation, if I have a loser playing a winner, regardless of talent, I'm probably going to side with the winner. And much as I don't like him, Brady's a winner. So I think most likely is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, outmatched, horrible record, terrible division. But, look, Dallas finds a way to fail when the chips are down. So I think they'll do it again. So any last thoughts on anything before we begin to wrap this episode up?
I have one
the final game. Yes,
I have one thing. We've talked about a few coaches that might be losing their jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Cowboys go down, McCarthy's gone. If the Chargers, they're already questioning whether what's his name,
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, Staley, if he's going to end up being their head coach. I think right now the person that is loving life, watching all of this,
I already know what you're going to say,
is Sean Payton, right?
Yep,
100%.
If he is out there and you're willing to give him what he wants, because I think he wants to have a little bit of say in personnel. Imagine him having to be able to choose just between those two spots alone. We already know that Jerry, like, I wouldn't want him to go to the Cowboys, but Jerry Jones is infatuated with him, right? He loves him. He wants him. He would do anything to get him there.
Well,
but just those two situations alone, those QBs and the weapons that.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole idea that everyone kind of thought what Peyton was doing was taking this year off and then was going to pick right back up and be the Cowboys coach. And then McCarthy got his team to win. So, now the rumor is that, the Denver is the first choice, and if not, then they want Harbaugh from Michigan. So, if you're Peyton, hang tight. Like you've got your choice. Now they're going to have to give up draft picks. They're going to at least compensation of some sort to get him. I mean, there's some rumors that he may even go back to the Saints, which I didn't quite understand, but there was a lot of people saying, he may go back to the Saints. But I think
Arizona is a great option too.
That is, if you believe in Kyler.
If he thinks he can deal with Kyler Murray, I think Arizona is a interesting landing spot.
That's going to be telling right there. I think whatever coach lands there, that's going to be telling on what if it's a first time coach and they can't land any big names, then that may be an indictment on what people really think of Kyler. But that's, again, a different story for a different day. But no one after last season thought that like Peyton was going to be able to get this Cowboys job. And now all of a sudden, after finishing 12-5, if they lose in epic fashion, then McCarthy's gone. Now you know, Jerry Jones is going to open up whatever. He's going to give up whatever he can to get him. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, there's so many subplots to these games. So it's going to be very interesting. You know, going back to the Ravens, we were saying that Lamar plays last game. Well, if the Ravens get blown out without Lamar playing, does that not just add to Lamar's, to Lamar's side? Like, hey, you can't win the big game without me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the short answer is
yeah. So I mean, now that helps him out in contract negotiations, and maybe you do end up giving up more than what you really wanted to, because you realize now we've secured our defense, because you're pretty stout on defense. You may need defensive lineman or something like that, but I mean, you're pretty stout on defense. Go out, get him a wide receiver, and pay him the money. So so it could end up helping him if they lose big. So, he may be rooting that they don't win without him, because if you win without him, now doubt kind of creeps in their minds. Like, do we really need to spend all this money on one guy?
Right.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, we saw the stat today that the top 4 paid quarterbacks this year didn't make the playoffs.
Every one of them missed it. It's amazing.
So you got to be looking at that too. Like, is it really worth giving this guy $40 million a year? Is it worth it? I don't know. So
it's tricky, right? I mean, I've said again, I'd take 3 first-round picks for him. I would be okay signing a Derek Carr or equivalent.
I like that.
With I mean, if I could bring in 3 ones, sign a Derek Carr, that cap space with the team that's in place. And I'm going to tell you a player. This is going to be probably a little bit closer to my Roquan Smith prediction back in August that the Ravens would be signing him or trading for him. I'm going to name a player here. It's outside of what I think makes sense, but I just have a nagging feeling that it could happen. And I already mentioned it to you guys on the group text. DeAndre Hopkins.
Sure.
This fits the Ravens mold so perfectly to be able to get a guy who's a little late in his career, who's maybe coming off of a not great year and has the opportunity to be gotten undervalued. The team is in a total rebuild in basically every which way. I mean, you don't know what's going to be happening with Kyler. You just fired the head coach. Fired. I mean, we could say he resigned, but you fired the general manager. Everything's going crazy, and there are rumors that they might be willing to unload DeAndre Hopkins. Considering that he went there for, I think, a 3rd and a 4th along with a player, I think there's every possibility that the Ravens are able to bring him in for maybe a 3rd, maybe even if you had to go to a 2nd. But I think that is an interesting play, and if you look at the history of the Ravens, they have a very long history. I was naming some of the players for you guys today. I mean, all the way back. But I mean, you can go, and when I say all the way back, I'm talking a Derek Mason, a Steve McNair, these guys, and then Eric Weddle, and guys in more recent seasons as well. And, right now, Calais Campbell on the team, right, is another perfect example of that. And I just feel like that would be a real show of good faith to a Lamar, to be able to say, okay, man, yes, we had to get the defense squared away, and we've done that. And we've gotten your offensive weapons signed, right? We got JK, we got Mark Andrews, and now we're going to bring in that last piece, that stud wide receiver, and we want you to be here for part of it and get signed to that. And I think that is, it all feels like it's lining up really well for the Ravens to be able to make a play for a DeAndre Hopkins. So early prediction, I don't know that it'll happen. I have no inside knowledge on this, but I just get a vibe that it fits their historic methodology for things.
I think bottom line to what you're saying, you guys do need a wide receiver. And he does fit that mold perfectly of someone that could come in and instantly be, play well for you guys for the next 3 to 4 years, right? But the key thing is there that Lamar needs a receiver Duvernay, is that who you have right now? Who's probably the main receiver for you?
Bateman.
Well, yeah, we had Rashad Bateman, but he's been out. He's been out with injury both years, so there's been issues there. But yeah, otherwise it would be Duvernay. Duvernay and Bateman are the two, and they drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round a couple of years ago, and he's just had some injury issues. Hollywood Brown was 1,000-yard receiver.
I can't believe you guys let him go.
I was thrilled because
you wanted him gone?
Oh my goodness, I wanted him gone, and for a lot of reasons that we'd have to go into that at a different time. But separate from being a malcontent, and kind of an underachiever, it was one of those things where I don't think we would have re-signed him anyway. Not that we wouldn't have wanted to. I don't think it just would have worked out. And so I look at this and say, if we were able to trade a guy who we weren't going to be re-signing, and we got a first-round pick for him, that then we turned around and drafted the best center in the draft and the highest rated center, I think they said, in the last 10 years. And that rookie center was ranked the number 4 center in all of football for his run blocking this season, which, again, is very important if you're the Ravens. Then I look at it and I go, okay, yeah, I like that value. I like that move. Sure. But then if you can bring in a DeAndre, because DeAndre has a catch radius that's a very different thing than what a Hollywood Brown can offer you. Hollywood Brown's very undersized, and he disappeared oftentimes in games. Sure. DeAndre is very different. A big physical receiver, huge hands, long, wingspan, and can make plays. And Lamar, while he does have the ability to be a solid quarterback, he's not your pinpoint accuracy best guy in the world. You need a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins. So I think the physical presence, I think the skill set, it just feels like a good fit to me.
I like it.
So no prediction there. But I would say just watch out for it. Usually for all of us, when we have some of these feelings, whether it was Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State, we've had a lot of different things before that have come up, and we have a tendency to be eerily accurate about them. So that one could come to fruition as well. But okay, so before we wrap it up, we know our picks for the weekend. We're going to have a good weekend of football here. Any last things we want to touch on before we get on out of here?
No. Do you have a Super Bowl winner?
Boy,
throw that out there early.
Gosh. I'm unprepared. I'd have to really look at the field. I mean, look, it's going to be hard to beat the Eagles. I think everyone can agree. It's going to be tough to beat the Eagles. I mean, that's a good team. And if Jalen Hurts stays healthy, they're going to be tough to beat. I don't think they win the Super Bowl. Because while they're going to be tough to beat, they still have to beat the Chiefs and or the Bills. I feel like the Chiefs would win. I don't know. Something kind of feels like it's the Bills' year, though. So I don't know. But I think it's coming out of the AFC personally. What do you guys got?
I got 4 teams: Chiefs, Bills.
Well, you got half the team, so I got you.
I'm just saying that could make it. That I could say would take it. And then I would put I would put the Chiefs and the Bills, and then I would put in the NFC. I have the Niners, and I would put oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, Eagles. Those are the 4 teams that I say have the.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue.
Makes sense. Yeah, solid 4.
I don't know that I would see a dark horse. Like a 6 seed or 7 seed being able to. I think their teams are just too stacked right now. Yeah, I mean, we know the NFL isn't rigged, of course.
No, of course not.
It's not rigged at all.
It's one thing we don't have to worry about, thankfully.
Yeah, I'm just I don't know how you pass on the Bills at this point.
Yeah.
I don't. I just that's where I'm going to go. So we'll see what happens. I mean, watch them lose this weekend.
It's so great. He's so great.
Oh no, it would be kind of fun to see if that happened. But I mean, I think it's just going to be Bills and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game again, and that's going to be a coin toss for me. Whoever pulls that one out, but well, that's going to be in a neutral site, right? I mean, this weird thing they did, so that'll be a neutral site game. So
Yeah, I think so.
that could change a lot. We'll have to get into that because that might change a lot. I forgot about that. That's a neutral site if it's those two. So that's a toss-up game right there.
It could be a lot of fun to watch that one.
Yeah,
a lot of fun to watch that.
So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, gents. Well, listen, this was fun. We're going to get back to this, and we're going to be bringing more shows to you, more content to you, a lot more consistently now that the new year has started. Holidays are over, and it's back to the grind. So we're going to be with you through the playoffs. We've got a lot of exciting content coming here in the postseason, and the show will continue far beyond that. But that'll wrap us up for tonight. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games, and let's have fun, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Later.
Later on.